That was a long night, and it's going to be an even longer couple of days. Hello YouTube. It is the morning after the night before. I have not slept yet, and right now our political situation is going to shit very, very quickly. I've been asked over the last 24 hours, I've been pretty constantly live tweeting the whole election, and I've been asked by a couple of people, mainly people in the States who obviously aren't clued up on our electoral system, to sort of do a bit of a, as one of them called it, an election for dummies type video on exactly how our electoral system works and exactly why we're having the problem that we're currently having. Basically, we operate a system by which the country is split up into various seats, into various constituencies. Within that seat, you have all the candidates, various parties stand, and within that constituency, people can vote, obviously, for whichever candidate they want to win. The candidate who wins becomes a Member of Parliament and goes to the House of Commons to stand as a Member of Parliament. The current system basically works that the constituencies aren't the same size, nor do they have the same amount of people in them, because of these smaller rural constituencies. The rural constituencies seem to be a lot bigger, so they can encompass a bigger amount of people than, obviously, if you just had a small rural village, you might have like 10 people, so they've made that to encompass 10 villages, whereas in a city like Nottingham, we've got like 4 seats in this one city. So it's supposed to roughly equate to the same amount of people in each seat, but it never quite works out. I mean, one of the seats might be 27,000 people, another might be 20,000 people. There are clear discrepancies in the system. The House of Commons has 652 seats in it, constituencies in it, I should say, and that means that for any one party to win, they need a majority of at least 326 seats. What that means is that the party in government will always have a majority, which means it's a lot easier for them to pass legislation. Hung parliaments, i.e. a parliament where not everybody... The situation we currently are undertaking is one referred to as a hung parliament. Basically what that means is that no one party has managed to garner enough seats to basically hold an overall majority. The issue basically is that the Conservatives are looking that they're going to get about 307, 308 maybe seats. The last few are still being counted and verified, but it's looking like they're going to have maybe 307 seats, so they're going to be 19 short of the overall majority they need, which means that they're going to struggle to obviously pass bills because everyone else will unite against them, and they won't be able to put the bills through. There are 2 ways that this could be worked out. Either what's going to have to happen is the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrat Party, who came 2nd and 3rd respectively, might have to team up to basically combat the overall majority of the Conservatives and form a coalition government in a minority. The alternative is that the Conservatives try and rule in a minority government and just basically try and garner support for each bill as and when it comes up. Neither of these situations is really going to be viable, neither of them is really going to work for very long, and it's likely that Britain is going to return to the polls probably within months, not years. Usually we have an election up to every 5 years. The incumbent Prime Minister can call the election whenever he likes within that 5 years, but it has to be before the 5th year is up. Usually it'll go maybe 4 years. This time we've gone all the way to 5, just because obviously of all the troubles with the economy or whatever, they've wanted to try and keep the election as late as they can, just to keep the recovery going. But basically, it's likely that we're going to be back at the polls probably by Christmas at this rate. It's not going to be a situation that's going to last at all. The alternative system of proportional representation is one that's being supported by the Liberal Democrat Party, and one that actually might end up being the sticking point on any deal that's done, whether the Lib Dems side with Labour to stop the Conservatives, or whether the Lib Dems, as they've said they might well do, actually end up siding with the Tories, the Conservatives, just to give them their majority, just to say, okay, whether or not they vote with them, they might just say, we won't vote against you, which would be enough to give the Conservatives the outright majority they need. So yeah, as it stands, there is no winner of the election. As it stands, in any hung parliament situation, the incumbent Prime Minister, who is currently Gordon Brown, head of the Labour Party, remains Prime Minister until such time as it is clear to everybody that he cannot form a majority. So there are all sorts of deals going on behind the scenes. He will be trying to convince the Liberal Democrats, he'll be trying to convince the Greens, who got a seat last night, he'll be trying to convince the Ulster Unionists in Northern Ireland, he'll be trying to convince the DUP in Northern Ireland. They're not likely to join him, but they're more likely to join the Conservatives, but he will be trying to convince everybody he can possibly get to get into a huge coalition government to defeat the Conservatives. Whether this happens or not, who knows. So yeah, currently, basically, Gordon Brown is effectively squatting in Downing Street. There's not a lot he can do until we know one way or another, and it's likely that this isn't going to take days, it's probably going to take weeks at this stage. We honestly don't know when we're going to know who it is. The reintroduction of Parliament by the Queen's speech is going to take place on May 21st, I think they've said. Maybe May 25th. So by then, one way or another, we need to have a Prime Minister, whether that be David Cameron for the Conservatives, having either, as I said, gone into a minority government or done some sort of deal with the Lib Dems, or whether Gordon Brown can amass his comeback, amass his coalition government with the Lib Dems, with other parties, to try and get over that magical 326. Currently nobody has that, currently nobody's even looking like getting that in the near future, and it'll be really, really interesting to see where that goes. In the time being, we're in a state of pretty much chaos. There's not a lot we can do about it. We're sitting here, we don't know what's going on. I don't think a lot of people in the country even are quite sure exactly, what this hung parliament's going to entail, what it's going to mean. And that's basically because we don't know in the long term what it's going to mean. It's something that barely ever happens. The last hung parliament was in 1974, and in that election there was another election called pretty much instantaneously, and it was called again another few months later, which I'm sure is what's going to happen this time, because there's just no way that a minority government are going to be able to leave for long one way or another, or a coalition will collapse. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where we go with this. You'll see my regular Friday video later, but I just thought I had to put this video up to explain exactly what was going on, because I know people wanted to know, I know people were confused about what was going on. So yeah, that's just about it from me from now. And yeah, like I say, you will see me again later today. Talk to you later, YouTube.